I was a graduate student in North Carolina, married to my wife, Lori, and we were graduating in the summer of 1982 and decided where to go live and start our life as a couple. And we got a book at a local bookstore that rated all the cities in the country, and we decided to interview in the top 4 cities, and Pittsburgh was one of them. You know, Pittsburgh, as far as an attraction, it's not just a physical attraction, it's a social attraction, because it's the best of both worlds as a medium scale. It's big enough to have the resources that an architectural community needs, but small enough where you can get to know everybody. I interviewed at a few places when I arrived here. One of them was Dieter Ritchie-Sippel, which is DRS Architects. So at that time, they were the largest firm in town. They were the architects of Three River Stadium, Civic Arena, Allegheny Center, et cetera, and so on. I sat back to back with Gary Carlo, may he rest in peace, who was the founder of Edge Studio. So after 5.5 years at Arthur Lubitz Associates, in 1988, started Rothschild Architects over in Regent Square. When I left Arthur Lubitz Associates, Ken Doyno was a staff member there that I had interviewed. Ken showed up at the door of the office and said, "I want to work for you." About 3 months in, I hired Ken. And it's been the best business decision I've ever made, because not only is he my partner, but he's been with me for 35 years. After a while, Rothschild Architects became Rothschild Doyno Architects. And then after a little bit further, it became Rothschild Doyno Collaborative, which is the current name of our firm. I guess the rest is history. I got first involved with AIA Pittsburgh by being asked to be on the board of directors. 8 years later, I got off the board. There's supposed to be term limits, but I think every time I hit a term limit, the executive director would find a reason to extend it, and ultimately became president. And what a wonderful opportunity to be with really, I wouldn't say necessarily like-minded people, but other architects who really cared about the future of what we can do as a group that no architect could do on their own. And then after that, I was asked by the retiring executive director to try to reinvigorate the AIA Foundation. She talked about doing something about leadership, and we were talking about that. She then approached 2 other AIA members, Jen B. and Sean Scheffler, and the 3 of us founded the Leadership Institute for Emerging Professionals. We spent a year researching, promoting public relations, accounting, etc., making a curriculum. And then we launched, and we were able to run it for 5 years. At the end of our 5th year, we had educated 98 professionals from 37 different organizations. About 5 years ago, the AIA Pittsburgh decided to recognize the social impact of projects. And again, you stay around here long enough, you see a lot of things that are very similar. I would say 10 or 15 years ago, they thought environmental architecture is an important thing, and they created a category for green building. And then after a few years, they just dropped that because they said every building should have an environmental focus. So I saw that cycle. This other cycle about social impact was trying to get a better understanding that architects don't just design buildings, they help communities thrive. And for the first 4 years of that award, our firm won the Social Impact Award for different things that we did in Pittsburgh neighborhoods. We're a fiercely local company. It would be hard-pressed not to mention the Tree of Life project, that we are the associate architect with Studio Libeskind in New York. We were approached by the congregation just a week after the massacre. We were asked if we could help them in any way. They had had a congregational meeting after the shooting, and they didn't know what to do with their building. And when I went there and walked through the property, I said that you don't have an architectural issue here. This is about trauma and healing. We met with over 160 people. We gathered over 2,000 comments that we put together in a manuscript and delivered a mental health report to them on the 1-year anniversary. Is that architecture? What is that? Is that a social impact? Yes, I think so. So if I would say what are our favorite projects, or my favorite projects, they're never individual buildings, but they're just projects that make the world a better place. Here I sit after 40 years in the profession with an FAIA title, ownership of a company that I founded with 6 partners. That's a certain person in the kaleidoscope. One of the greatest things that I'm able to do right now is look at legacy and what I have been able to be fortunate enough to leave behind. In our office, I would say our firm is one of the strongest AIA supporters in town. Now, how did that start? It may have started with me leading by example, by being on the board for all that time, and also being president. But by understanding how that benefited me and the way that that influenced my connections with other architects, we've had people in this office who've been president of AIA Pittsburgh, who've been on the board of AIA Pittsburgh, who've served as head of committees, head of YAF. It's on and on and on, and it just keeps going. Pittsburgh's a small town in a big city in a small town, and your reputation and your name follows you wherever you go. And that happens both positively and negatively. And I think the incremental organic growth with the focus on ethics allowed our name to travel in a positive manner. And because Pittsburgh is the scale that it is, and getting back to the AIA and architects, at this point I could probably pick up the phone to every single owner of any company in town, as well as many of their staff people that I got involved with the Leadership Institute. Because of that scale issue, don't think you can do that in New York City, and if we were much smaller, it wouldn't have the same resonance and power that Pittsburgh has. So I think it definitely was a good choice to move here. And I think the scale and the collegiality of the city, as well as the architecture community, benefits from that.